It is 3:14 a.m., and you are staring at a glowing rectangle in a room that smells like stale coffee and regret. You feel like a genius, don't you? You've convinced yourself that this is your creative peak. You tell your parents, your friends, and maybe even your own reflection that you are just a natural night owl. You say the silence of the night is the only time you can actually think. But if that's true, why are you currently 4 hours deep into a rabbit hole about the history of abandoned shopping malls instead of finishing that project? Why does your heart race every time you think about the 8 a.m. alarm you have to set in 4 hours? I'm going to tell you something that might hurt a little, but it's the only thing that's going to save your GPA and your sanity. You aren't a night owl. You are just a dopamine addict who has hijacked your own circadian rhythm to hide from the things that scare you. We've all been there. That weird, jittery second wind that hits at 11 p.m. It feels like magic. It feels like you finally found the secret sauce to productivity. But there is a darker reason why your brain suddenly decides to wake up when the rest of the world is dreaming. It's called revenge bedtime procrastination. And it is the single biggest lie our generation tells itself. You feel like you have no control over your day. You're pushed around by teachers, bosses, and deadlines from 9 to 5. So when the sun goes down, you reclaim your life by staying awake. But you aren't reclaiming anything. You're just digging a deeper hole. And the reason it feels so good, it's because your dopamine receptors are fried. Think about how you spend those late night hours. It's never actually deep work, is it? It's productive-ish scrolling. It's researching things you'll never use. It's organizing a Spotify playlist instead of writing the essay. Your brain is craving a hit of dopamine that it didn't get during the day because you were too stressed or overwhelmed. At night, the pressure is off. No one is emailing you. No one is calling. You feel safe to indulge. But here is the shocking truth that 2 a.m. clarity is actually just your brain's last-ditch effort to get a chemical reward before it collapses. You've conditioned yourself to believe that stress equals creativity. But I promise you, there is a way to feel that same spark at 10 a.m. without wanting to die when you wake up. Before we fix this, you have to understand the loop you're stuck in. It's a chemical trap. When you stay up late, you spike your cortisol. Your body thinks it's in a survival situation because it should be asleep. So it dumps energy into your system. You feel wired, but it's a fake energy. It's borrowed time with high interest rates. The next morning, you're a zombie. You reach for caffeine. You struggle through classes. Your brain feels like it's wrapped in cotton wool. Because you felt like a failure all day, you feel like you owe yourself some fun at night. And the cycle repeats. You aren't lazy, you're just dysregulated. Your internal clock isn't broken. It's just being held hostage by your phone and a total lack of meaningful daytime stimulation. Let's talk about the student trap. You spend all day in a lecture hall or at a desk, but your brain is actually starving. You're busy, but you aren't active. By the time you get home, your brain is looking for a massive reward to compensate for the boredom of the day. This is why you find yourself opening TikTok for 5 minutes and closing it 3 hours later. Your brain is trying to self-medicate. You are using high-speed digital information to fill a void left by a day spent doing things you don't actually care about. If you want to stop staying up late, you have to stop making your daytime so miserable. You have to find a way to inject micro-wins into your morning so that by 9 p.m. you actually feel satisfied. So, how do we actually break out? Most people tell you to just go to bed earlier. That is the worst advice ever. If you try to go to sleep at 10 p.m. tonight, you'll just lay there staring at the ceiling, thinking about every embarrassing thing you said in 3rd grade. Your brain will scream for a hit of scrolling. We have to outsmart the system. We have to rebuild your dopamine baseline from the ground up, and we're going to do it in tiny, almost invisible steps. The goal isn't to become a morning person overnight. The goal is to stop being a 3 a.m. victim. We are going to implement a full-scale biological reset that treats your brain like the high-performance machine it actually is, instead of the trash bin you've been treating it as. Step 1 is the sunset transition. Your brain starts tracking the end of the day long before you hit the pillow. About 2 hours before you want to be asleep, you need to dim every single light in your house. If you're a student in a dorm, get a cheap orange-tinted lamp or use warm-toned LED. White light tells your brain the sun is up. It suppresses melatonin instantly. By dimming the lights, you are sending a biological signal that the hunt is over. You are telling your dopamine system that there are no more rewards to be found tonight. It sounds simple, but It is the physical off switch your brain is begging for. Most people ignore this and then wonder why they feel wired while lying in the dark. It's because your eyes were blasted with 5,000 kelvins of blue light 5 minutes ago. Now, here is the part that's going to make you want to close this video. The phone jail. You could not have your phone within arm's reach after midnight. I know. You use it for your alarm. You like listening to white noise. Buy a $5 alarm clock. Use a dedicated speaker. The phone is a portal to infinite dopamine. When you are tired, your willpower is at 0%. You wouldn't put a plate of cookies in front of someone on a diet. So why put a TikTok feed in front of a dopamine addict at 1 a.m.? Put it in another room. Buy a timed lockbox if you have to. The friction of having to get out of bed to check a notification is usually enough to stop the impulse. If you have to walk 10 steps to check a like, your brain will eventually decide it isn't worth the effort. What do you do instead of scrolling? This is where the low dopamine menu comes in. Most people fail at sleeping early because they try to go from 100 to 0. You go from a high-octane video game or a heated Twitter argument straight to closing your eyes. It doesn't work. You need a middle ground. Read a physical book, not an e-reader, a real book. Draw, journal, fold your laundry. Do something that is boring but tactile. You want to invite boredom back into your life. Boredom is the gateway to natural sleep. When your brain realizes there's nothing exciting happening, it will finally give you permission to shut down. You have to realize that boredom is not the enemy. Boredom is the space where your brain processes the day and prepares for the next. But what about the guilt? That's the real reason you stay up, right? You feel like you didn't do enough today. To fix this, you need the 3-task reset. Every night, before you start your wind down, write down exactly 3 things you need to do tomorrow. Just 3, not a list of 20. When you have a massive, vague to-do list, you can sleep because tomorrow you has a plan. This creates a psychological closing ceremony for the day. It tells your brain that the shop is closed and the employees can go home. We also need to address the shadow work of the creator. If you're a YouTuber, a writer, or a designer, you probably feel like your brain only functions when everyone else is asleep. This is usually because you're afraid of judgment. At night, the critic is asleep. You feel like you can make mistakes because no one is watching. To break this, you have to practice shitty first drafts during the day. You have to give yourself permission to be terrible at 2 p.m. so you don't feel the need to be a perfectionist at 2 a.m. Deep work is a muscle, and right now yours is atrophied. You've been using the darkness as a crutch for your lack of focus. It's time to throw the crutch away and learn to walk in the daylight. The hardest part of this entire process is the first 30 minutes of the next day. This is the anchor point. If you wake up and immediately check your phone in the dark, you have already lost. You've just flooded your brain with cheap dopamine before your feet even hit the floor. Your brain will spend the rest of the day looking for that same high. Instead, you need to get your eyes into some form of natural light within 10 minutes of waking up. Open the blinds. Step outside. This sets a timer in your brain that says, the day has started. It ensures that 14 hours from now, your body will actually feel tired. It's about setting the rhythm, not just following it. Let's talk about digital minimalism during the day. If you spend your entire afternoon scrolling, your brain enters a state of constant scanning. You become incapable of deep focus.